Morning everybody. I wanted to do my first Korean vlog here, and also essentially this topic that I'm talking about today, monetization in esport, kind of coming back to it. Yesterday or the day before I saw a vlog of Travis's, or no, I guess one of the podcasts that Travis did on the front page of Reddit, and there was in the comment section some things like criticism, and then Travis responded, and the main idea was that, okay, I'm doing this for free and your critiques are valid, but think of these things as well. And then later on in the comment section, Mark Z was asked, why aren't you doing Blame Game anymore? And he jumped in and he was like, I've got these other projects, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a money versus time equation, kind of. And this all kind of harkens back to Travis's first content piece on monetization in esport around the Surrender at 20 website that he did a few weeks ago. And I wanted to revisit this idea to give you guys insight into how my brand monetizes and how I believe that esport monetization could work, and essentially also to teach you how it does work currently with the attention model. So to start off, I want to explain the basic tiers of monetization, which is something that wasn't really talked about in the other video, and that is that essentially if you're a content creator, what you're selling is your attention, because you don't have a product or a service. So in the economy, you trade a product or a service for money. That's the fundamental kind of exchange that goes on here, is a value exchange. Now, some people pay for entertainment as a service. And that's kind of something we'll leave a little bit later when we talk about Patreon, but normally you're selling like a service product or a physical product, and people are giving you money for it. So if you're a content creator and you have people's attention, but you don't have anything to sell them, then you can sell them other people's stuff. And the lowest tier of kind of activation of that skill for you is sponsorship. So this is because if somebody is sponsoring you, they have to be making money off it, or else it doesn't make sense for them as a company. You're returning more in value than you're getting paid for as a person who is sponsored. In other words, they're making more revenue off of it, and they're sharing a very, very small amount to the people who they're sponsoring, unless they're like some super celebrity and they're doing it for brand purposes. But mostly with smaller content creators like the kind you'll find in League of Legends, sponsors will be doing it for marketing purposes. So like direct sales, not so much for the branding kind of aspect. So you need to be selling product, and you need to be selling more than you're getting paid, or else the relationship will only last a few months, and then they'll look at the math and they'll be like, well, this is over because you're not providing enough value in return. And you'll see that happening a lot because essentially, first of all, sponsorships are a little bit higher than they should be because companies believe more in the selling power of these content creators, and then also the content creators aren't very good at selling, really, necessarily. So sponsorship's kind of lowest level. You get like less than 1% of the revenue generated by a product usually. And then you jump up and you have commission-based sales. So that's if you see like Philip DeFranco or Thorin will have something where you go to this website and use the code Thorin when you register, or go to ting.com and use the code PhillyD and get a discount. And so these are kind of the best win-win for both content creators and businesses right now, because you as a content creator get paid for every sale that you make. So there's no risk on the business's part. Every single sale that you make, they pay you for. And if you don't make a sale, they don't pay you. That means because there's no risk, they can give you way more of the money. They can give you, if it's a physical product, 15 or 30% of the sale price. If it's a digital product, even close to 100%. Some digital products pay more than 100% commission for every single sale because they expect it to be a loss leader. On the other hand, for the content creator, it's really good if you're good at selling and if you have a strong bond with your audience, because you get to, I would say, cash in more of the psychological debt that you create when you create valuable content for free. And usually you get to give your audience something that they want. So for example, people want a cheap cell phone subscription, PhillyD gives you that, and he also gives you a discount, and so it's a win-win-win. Like the consumer wins, or the audience member wins, because they get to get something that they want at a discount while supporting their creator. The creator wins because he gets paid more than he should if he has a sponsorship in terms of absolute percentage of the value of the product, and he doesn't have to make the product himself. And the company wins because they net out in the math really evenly. It's a customer they wouldn't have gotten without the content creator selling it. So I really like commission-based. And the top level of monetization is you create the product yourself. You create a t-shirt, you create an access product where like you get access to a private stream, whatever, these kinds of things, and you sell it yourself. You get to keep 100% of the revenue. And that's essentially what I've done, which is why with the small YouTube subscriber base of 24,000 and my Snapchat and my Twitter and just making videos like this, I'm able to monetize at a much higher level than most content creators who are larger than me and who are making less because they haven't created a product or a service, which in this case is my Mac program. So here we go, here's the monetization part. The Mac program, mindgames.gg/MAC. If you go there, you can find it. I've been working on it for 3 or 4 years now. And it's basically a video training program you purchase access to for 25 bucks. And you have permanent access no matter how many times I upgrade it or add like phone apps to it or whatever. It's the same exact program that I went through with CLG and TSM and G2 when I started with them, and the idea being that there's these fundamental principles of mindfulness, acceptance, and commitment that you go through to build mental resilience. You can do that in any field and for any competition or any sort of competitive driven aspect. It's a very valuable set of skills to train while you're doing something like studying or working out or competing or training or even relationships, things like parenting. Because I'm selling that directly and I get to keep a bunch, like pretty much all of the money aside from what I spend on the hours, to create it, that means that I'm getting much more dollar per value from my audience base than the average YouTuber who's selling it for pennies on the dollar to YouTube, or for a couple pennies on the dollar to a sponsor. And most people are not doing commission sales because 1, they're bad at selling, and 2, this is the biggest problem, there are no products to sell yet. So if you look at other industries with content creators, even small podcasters in the business podcasting space are able to monetize because there's an amazing amount of products that their audience want that they can sell. But in eSport, that's not true, because what we want is peripherals usually, but those are kind of like one-time purchases for a long way in between. And we want skins and in-game stuff, which is really hard to commission out to content creators. There's not a lot of products. Other than that, we're slowly getting into things like, accessory items, and you can sell your own t-shirts, or you could sell, I don't know, there's stuff out there, but it's really slow to come around. And that's why one of my missions was to turn the Mac program into a commission-based product that other content creators could sell if they think their audience is a performance-based, competitive kind of esport audience, or one prone to tilt that needs like a tilting thing. Then they could sell that, and they could keep 90% of the revenue from the sale, because it's a sale that I otherwise would not have gotten. And I had that on as commission for a while. I turned it off because there wasn't a lot of interest, but obviously if people are interested in that, contact me privately. But anyway, my main point is that as the scene develops and as we get more and more of these products, there will be ability for content creators at smaller levels to monetize themselves to greater revenue, which will allow it to be more sustainable. You could maybe get by with 1,000 listeners on a podcast if you have something valuable that they actually want to buy, that you can sell to them, and give them a deal on, and that they want to buy it, and then they support you. So that is basically my kind of like rant, I would say, about monetization is, 1, people are just not good enough at selling. Like, content creators just don't see that their job is to sell, and they would rather get cushy and try to find a sponsorship deal, which is really only going to last a couple months until the sponsor realizes they're not getting any value of it and gets rid of it. I think that if you're a content creator and you get a sponsorship deal, you should pursue them, of course, and you should take what money you get, and you should really milk it for all it's worth, because you're trying to survive. But on the other hand, you should also prepare and do the math and understand that in a few months there's going to be questions coming about your value, and you're going to be wanting to figure out how you can sell better to your audience, and constantly researching for products that will fit them better, so that you have less guilt when you're asking them for money, essentially, or to go spend money. And what do you guys think? Because you are the audience members who are monetized, and there is this movement also especially in music and in the arts, to do essentially like viewer supported or entertainer supported monetization. So the use of crowdfunding, essentially. It really only works for very, very large content creators, people who make music, people who make really, really amazing art, things like that. But it's starting to gain steam among even small content creators as a way to like supplement income. So what it's turning into actually is access-based products and services. So essentially, if you look at, for example, Patreon, now behind the Patreon wall, you can provide early access, you can provide private streams, you can provide chat, these kinds of things where it's just you're paying for access. So it's not really patron, like where you just give literally free money for only the content. You're actually buying services. They're just access-based services. And Patreon is the website that allows content creators to do that very easily without creating their own website and creating their own kind of private streams and whatnot. It has all the tech embedded. So what do you think of that movement? Do you think that you prefer pure patronization where you just literally give money and they produce free content? Or do you like this move towards paying for access, more access to your content creators because it gives them, you know, an easier way to monetize and sell something that is of value to their audience, which is access to them? Luca's here training already. Everybody else is asleep, but you know, he's obviously the hungry one.